Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now August 16th of 2020, and ever since the very end of the Skywalker saga, a lot of fans have been very skeptical and curious about the future of the Star Wars franchise, and exactly where things are going by Bob Iger, Bob Chapek, Disney, Lucasfilm in general, and whether or not George Lucas, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni are really going to be able to handle everything moving forward. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, the one thing about Disney Star Wars is that we do know that they are very busy with their lineup of Star Wars movies and TV shows on Disney+. In fact, they already have over 10 years worth of Star Wars projects on Disney+ alone, completely separate from the fourth Star Wars trilogy and even the spin-off films. So that really gives you a vivid imagery of exactly how expansive this new universe really is going to become and how it's going to be far larger than the old one that we got back in the 1990s and the 2000s. Now, the thing about The Rise of Skywalker as a movie is that, yes, we do know that it had a very messy and shaky production behind the scenes, all because of Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy. If it were not for Kathleen Kennedy, the film would have been entirely different because, well, it went through many different phases of reshoots and rewrites on and off, where a lot of scenes were swapped out and others were pushed in. And it really just was a big mess for the cast and the crew behind the scenes. So a lot of fans have really been very curious exactly, what George Lucas and J.J. Abrams could have done for the very end of the Skywalker saga, and it really is quite a mystery as to exactly, how far better it would have done in comparison to the final cut of the film. Now, with that being said, of course, what's really exciting is that, without a doubt, by far the two most prominent characters in the Skywalker saga are both Anakin and Luke, created by George Lucas for the originals and prequels. With the sequel trilogy, many fans were disappointed with the portrayal of Luke Skywalker by Rian Johnson and the absence of Luke by Kathleen Kennedy, leaving fans left to wonder what could have been if it were not for Kathleen Kennedy deleting so many scenes from The Rise of Skywalker, which included a handful of Luke and Anakin segments in the movie. Now, it's described that one of the scenes that were deleted involved the opening of the film on the mysterious jungle world that Rey is training on. In the first phase of reshoots, the opening scene involved a segment between Luke and Anakin as well as Rey, where Rey is training by herself trying to communicate with the Force ghosts on the jungle world. Eventually, the voices of both Anakin and Luke are heard in the distance, where Anakin is best described to have a deeper voice for the segment. Now, the scene eventually progresses to a moment in which Rey turns around and stares at the natural fog or mist on the jungle world, with of course both Luke and Anakin's Force ghosts appearing before Rey in a vague way, where Rey is squinting and eventually is happy to know that she has completed her training to communicate with the Jedi of the past. So once again, guys, like I say, this is somewhat similar to what we saw in the final cut of the film, where Rey is training to try and communicate with the Force ghost, but she fails. She only completes the task at the very end of the movie in the final cut. Here, she completes it in the very beginning, right off the bat. Now, this is where Anakin stands back and Luke steps forward, handing Rey the two halves of the Skywalker saber, telling her to use the Force to fix it and repair it. Now, both Anakin and Luke would guide Rey to reforging the Skywalker saber that once belonged to Anakin. Originally, JJ and George wanted to pay a special tribute to the iconic lightsaber by showing the fans how Rey reforged the actual weapon. Eventually, Rey is able to use a new kyber crystal given by Luke to repair the saber, where Rey is floating above the ground, with pieces of the saber spiraling around her like a tornado slowly, eventually forming into the new saber while Rey performs the training. Luke and Anakin are standing by in the distance watching Rey complete her Jedi training, as both Anakin and Luke have a brief 30-second talk about Rey becoming the Jedi that she needs to be, as they look at the Jedi texts to find her way over to Exegol. So once again, this is kind of similar to another segment that we got on the jungle world in the final cut of the film, where Rey is going through the Jedi texts. Here we have Luke and Anakin as Force ghosts briefly going through it and eventually showing it to Rey. Now, Luke had written special notes in this book to find the world of Exegol, as the Force ghosts of the past are very well aware of Palpatine's return and his survival. This is where Luke and Anakin warn Rey of a dark presence far dangerous than Snoke and Kylo Ren, and that she must travel to Exegol to defeat the Emperor. Rey is described to begin to have dark visions once told about the Emperor, before she begins to look at the book and packs her equipment before leaving the jungle world, where Luke and Anakin eventually vanish into the fog once again on the mysterious jungle planet. Now that is of course all located over in the Outer Rim in this cut of the movie. Now, once again, Kennedy deleted the scene. She changed it to have Leia teaching Rey and to no longer explain how the saber got fixed, as that would actually be a waste of time, according to Kathleen Kennedy, where parts of the original shots of Rey were used for the Rey and Leia scenes in the final cut of the movie. Now, this is where things really get interesting, because this was all packed into the very beginning of the film, even before touching in on Kylo arriving on Mustafar and going into the Vader castle, all of those wild scenes that could have been if Kathleen Kennedy did not intervene. Now, here's the thing about this, and the reason as to why this makes the film a lot better already is that right off the bat in the final cut, we are left wondering how in the world did Rey fix the lightsaber? We are not even told about this. Those are the two biggest questions of all in the movie that are yet again unanswered. J.J. Abrams seems like he really creates questions without answering them. And the two biggest questions of all that were left unanswered in the movie itself, is that the saber is just reforged without question, without an actual answer, mind you. And the other thing is Palpatine has returned, and there's no actual answer as to how he really returned. So, of course, you can dive into canon and the lore to actually learn all about this. We do know that in the novel, they made it canon that he was a clone, and he used essence transfer to transfer his spirit over to that body. However, all of the other questions, like, specifically, how Rey, fixed the saber and stuff around those lines in the actual movie are very mysterious still to this very day. And when we look at everything related to what Kathleen Kennedy had done to the franchise, this seems like that JJ was at least, at the very minimum, with George Lucas by his side, trying to answer some of the questions that should have been answered right from the very start. I like the similarities in this scene compared to what we got in the final cut. In the final cut, Rey also has dark visions of Palpatine. She also goes through the Jedi texts on the world of, the jungle world in the very beginning of the film. And she's also training, and she's training with a Skywalker as well, being Leia. But in the original cut, in one of the cuts of the movie, she was actually being guided by the Force ghosts of Luke and Rey, where we have this nice reunion, or should I say Luke and Anakin, where they are guiding Rey, where we actually get this reunion between Luke and Anakin Skywalker, father and son. So, like I've said before in the past, guys, drop a comment below, let me know about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.